happened to us?
Whatever happens, don't you let go.
Government secrecy, religious anxiety, public distrust, blurry footage, endless speculation. A culture split between people who want answers and people who are terrified of what those answers might do to the world they already know. That is exactly why this movie suddenly feels less like simple entertainment and more like a pressure point for the moment we are living through. What makes the new comments around the film especially fascinating is that Disclosure Day apparently is not treating alien life as a simple blockbuster mystery. According to screenwriter David Koepp, religion plays a major role in the movie, and honestly, that may be the smartest angle this story could take. Because once you move beyond the surface level question of whether aliens exist, the real question becomes much more destabilizing. What would that revelation do to human belief? Not just politically, not just scientifically, spiritually, and that is where this movie starts sounding much richer than a standard invasion thriller. Koepp's explanation is especially interesting because he compares belief in extraterrestrial life to belief in God, not in the sense that they are the same thing, but in the sense that both occupy a space of uncertainty. You cannot fully prove it from your seat as an ordinary person. You cannot fully dismiss it either. You are left in that uncomfortable middle ground where the most honest answer may simply be maybe. That is such a sharp way to frame the theme because agnosticism is really the emotional engine of modern UFO culture. It is not certainty. It is not faith. It is not denial. It is the constant tension of living beside a possibility you cannot settle. That is why Koepp saying religion is an important part of Disclosure Day lands so well. If governments really had proof of non-human intelligence, of course religious leaders would be drawn into that conversation. Of course people would ask whether such a revelation challenges doctrine, expands doctrine, or simply exposes how small our old categories might be. Some people would see alien life as a threat to faith. Others would see it as another branch of creation. Others would panic because uncertainty is harder to survive than conviction. That is not background flavor. That is dramatic gold. What I really like is that Koepp's favorite theory is not a loud theory. He is not claiming full certainty. He is not trying to sound like some maniac on a late-night podcast yelling about hidden bases and cosmic wars. He is saying something much more unsettling. Maybe intelligent life has been here. Maybe it is here now. And maybe the real limitation is simply that human beings cannot perceive it. That idea is fantastic for science fiction because it does not just expand the universe, it shrinks us. It suggests the world may already be crowded with realities our senses are too primitive to register. That is the kind of concept that can turn a popcorn movie into something haunting. It also fits Spielberg perfectly. He has always understood that the most effective science fiction is not really about hardware. It is about human perception. Close Encounters worked because it made wonder feel obsessive. E.T. worked because it made the alien personal. War of the Worlds worked because it made apocalypse intimate. And now Disclosure Day sounds like it may be aiming at a different emotional target entirely. How people interpret truth when truth arrives wrapped in fear, secrecy, and the collapse of old mental frameworks. That makes Spielberg's other comments about the movie even more compelling. He says it is a full-scale action film, that it starts fast, and that it is deeply experiential. But he also says it carries emotional depth about how people see one another and echoes today's social divisions. That tells me this is not just going to be about aliens landing and governments lying. It is going to be about what belief does to communities, what doubt does to families, what hidden truth does to institutions already fraying under pressure. In other words, it sounds like a conspiracy thriller with a spiritual bloodstream, and honestly, that is a strong lane for Spielberg and Koepp to work in. Koepp comparing the film more to a 1970s conspiracy thriller like 3 Days of the Condor than to Close Encounters is a major clue. That comparison changes the flavor of everything. It suggests a story built less around and more around revelation. Less about cosmic beauty and more about layers being peeled back one by one. That is a great match for the idea of UFO secrecy. Because conspiracy stories work best when the truth is not just hidden but systemically buried beneath power, fear, and self-preservation. That is also why the marketing strategy is so smart. Spielberg keeping all third-act footage out of the campaign is one of the best decisions he could make for a movie like this. Most blockbusters cannot resist selling the ending before the audience even buys a ticket. They give away the money shot, the big twist, the final form, the emotional payoff, and then act shocked when viewers walk into the theater already halfway finished with the experience. Disclosure Day is doing the opposite. It is asking the audience to stay in the dark. And for a film built on uncertainty, that is exactly the right move. The beauty of hiding the third act is that it protects not just plot, but feeling. A movie like this should not be solved in trailer form. It should not be mapped out by frame-by-frame breakdown culture before opening weekend. If the real power of the story lies in what it reveals about belief, institutions, fear, and human empathy, then the ending needs room to breathe without being pre-digested by marketing departments. Spielberg understands that. He knows surprise is not just about shock. It is about preserving the emotional shape of discovery, and that may be why Disclosure Day suddenly feels like more than another Spielberg sci-fi movie. It feels like a direct conversation with the present, the endless UFO discourse, the institutional distrust, the blurry evidence, the spiritual uncertainty, the idea that the world may be changing faster than our moral language can keep up with. All of that is already in the air. Disclosure Day just seems ready to turn it into cinema. That is why I think this film has a real chance to hit harder than people expect. It has the scope of a summer event movie, but it also seems to understand that the real fear is not just what may be out there. The real fear is what happens in here, inside human beings, once certainty begins to crack. Once religion, science, government, and personal identity all get dragged into the same question, the movie stops being just about aliens. It becomes about us, and that is exactly where great science fiction lives. Disclosure Day arrives in theaters on June 12th, and right now, it looks like Spielberg may be delivering something that is not only thrilling, but disturbingly tuned to the age we are living in. Thanks for watching. Share your thoughts in the comments. This is where these kinds of films come to life. Until the next story, stay curious, be critical, keep your eyes on the screen. And remember, every film you haven't seen is a new film.